Hello, Sonya. How are you today?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited we get to hop on and talk about your journey and everything about it. So
Yeah.
let's start off with introducing yourself, just like what do you do? Yeah, we'll start there. A little bit of like what's going on currently, and then we'll just start, before you worked with us, what
Oh,
brought you to us?
okay. My name is Sonya. I am a hairstylist. I've been a stylist, let's say 19 years, question mark, a long time. Like I basically went straight from high school to cosmetology school, and I've hit the ground running ever since. Um, I worked with an Aveda concept salon for a long time before I decided to start my own journey. And I have my own studio now, kind of centrally located. And yeah, I am not from Austin, but I've been here since I was two. So
I
maybe
would say you're from.
yes, yeah. I feel like most of the time when I share that information, people are like, oh yeah, 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 you're from Austin. Um, I don't, hopefully I won't offend any like true Austin, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, and I'm excited to talk about this. I feel like I've been on a journey of like health and wellness and mindfulness and all the things for a couple of years now, probably since I went out on my own. And so yeah, I'm just excited to kind of share.
Yay. So yeah, tell us like why did you even think of like, I need to go look for someone to help me with like my nutrition? Like what was your mindset?
So I feel like I've always been, not always, I'm pretty good with like gathering data and research and kind of understanding what's ideal for having a whole like healthy life and well-being. But I just noticed that anytime I had questions about something, I was kind of still left with like, oh, that's a normal, or that's okay, or you're within normal
Mm,
limits, whatever the case may be. And I would say after the 2020, the pandemic, I did get COVID. And I noticed after that, like just really sluggish. And I was like, well, is this like a long hauler thing? Is this something else? Like asking my doctors, trying to figure it out. And yeah, that's kind of what led me to working with you guys and trying to find more data, more answers, maybe a little more validation. And so with
yeah.
that, I was able to get that.
Yay.
Yeah.
Yay. I feel like COVID that year,
Yeah.
if anyone didn't think about health, I feel
Yeah.
like that helped people see the importance of it. And especially seeing, people pass away from COVID. And for the most part, they were always linked to a chronic illness in some type of way, whether they had like diabetes or heart disease or all, kidney disease, all these things that are very preventable. And then just seeing, how we don't have control over some things that come in and happen in this world. And it's like, okay, we don't have control. Well, I don't know. I mean, I guess there's conspiracy of like how COVID started, but
Yeah.
typically we don't have control over certain things like this. Once it's out, it's out. And
Yeah.
so we have to like sit and rely on past behaviors. Like, okay, did I prepare myself for this? Because if I felt like if I didn't, and I obviously said, yes, I prepared myself for this, but if I didn't, I would definitely have been more scared and fearful because and then it like kind of makes you reflect and say, I need to take this seriously because you never
Right.
know when something like this could happen again. Knock on wood. Oh my gosh, I hope it never happens again. Even though I will say my introvertedness, homebodiness, I personally loved it and thrived, but I know not everyone did.
I know my job is very extrovert, but I was like, I'm not supposed to leave the house. Okay. Uh,
Don't throw me with a good time.
yeah, yeah. And also, I feel like there's probably a lot of people, women who are wanting to be in control of things,
Yeah.
perfectionism, all of these things, high functioning anxiety. That is me. So when this happened, I could no longer control what was going on around me, only what was in my
Yeah.
little pod in my home. And anyways,
Yeah.
I think that sort of created a more anxious minded um,
Mm,
person in me, you know what I mean? And sort of like put the pedal to the metal. And that is also how I started to feel like I was going through some sort of change where I needed to know like what was going on with my body, with my health and my
yeah.
gut issues and my hormonal issues and all sorts of stuff. Anywho.
Yeah. And what were some of like your past experience and labs that you did with your doctor? Because I know you mentioned they were kind of like, it's fine. Like they really didn't pull anything major out. So like what did they like test for?
Your typical stuff that you normally test for when you go in for like your yearly. I would always ask about my thyroid and different things like that. Everything's always within normal limits. The only thing that ever, raised awareness was my iron levels, which that is not new news. I feel like that is something I've struggled with even when I was younger. And it would just be like, okay, take some more iron or take this or do that. And I know that I didn't have the best like gut health for a while. I couldn't even tell you. I knew I was probably better than a normal person with like eating, and I've done Whole 30 and I've done different things. So I knew that was off and never really got like a ton of answers with that. And then it wasn't really until, gosh, I don't know. I had, let's see, after 35, let's say that. Just period cycles are really hard. Fatigue was really hard. I was just running myself into the ground. And I noticed that like in recent times. So I'm 38 now. I wish I could pinpoint exactly where I think that started. It's just hard to gauge because also
Yeah.
you just go through your life and you're just like going through the motions and doing everything.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I know that there's also big stress being an entrepreneur, being a hairstylist. Do you feel like that has played like a major role in like your health today?
Oh, 1,000%. Because going back to working in a salon environment when I started, it was very much like a hustle culture. Like you go, 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 go.
Mm,
You maybe just like chug some coffee. Maybe you have breakfast. You don't have time for lunch. You're in back, like eating a snack, finishing your cold coffee, and mixing color and going out. So I
mm,
didn't prioritize like resting my body, giving myself a balanced meal for a really long time. And then I was doing things, a lot of hit interval workouts. I was doing like weight training type things where I was stressing my body in that way, also stressing my body and not fueling it a proper way. And again, just being an anxious minded person, perfectionism, everything. You have to do all the things. Otherwise, you're not good enough or you're lazy or whatever.
yes,
Yes. Yeah.
yes, yes. And I'm sure so many entrepreneurs relate to that. I think that's like why we start a business is because we have this like, I want to change the world, go, go, go. I want to make an impact, but at the same time, it's like our detriment as well.
I know. You're like, okay, where's the balance? I have to find it
Yeah.
out. But I feel like
Yeah.
I'm constantly saying that. And some weeks are better than others.
Yeah.
And learning to listen to yourself and listen to your body.
Yeah, yeah, and being realistic of like what you can get done too. I just before we started recording, I was on a call with another business owner and just so much going on in her life and I was like what I feel like we should do is like take our calendar, like one, not let the calendar rule you, but the other way around. Take our calendar, write down the things that are like a mess. Like I need to pick up my kid from school, things that have to happen every day. And then writing in like penciling in and blocking off like, well, I'm exercising Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. So I'm blocking that time off, block off
Yeah,
meals, which is huge, but
it
please
is.
block
Yeah.
off meals. So breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And then we're like, okay, what are we left over with? Like we took
Yeah.
care of our body. We obviously did things that we need to do anyway, especially
Yeah.
if you have kids. And then like, what can you get done? And like, that's it. Versus usually people are like, work first. And then if I can fit in a workout, I will. And it's like
Yeah.
the opposite,
I
basically.
know. Yeah. And then end of the day comes and you're like, well, I'm just
I
gonna
didn't
lay
get
on
into
the
it,
and watch
yeah,
Love and Find or whatever.
which is
Uh
so good this season. So
Good. I am like whoever I can talk to about it.
me
Yeah.
too.
Yes.
I'm like, what are your thoughts? I will
Yeah,
say this is probably one of the better seasons. Very
I
juicy.
agree. Yes, it's so good. And like when yesterday's drop happened, I was like, okay, I'm gonna watch one episode. I'm gonna go to the gym and then I'm gonna come home and watch the other one. And I'm like, oh, I have to wait. Okay.
My husband literally this morning was like, because I got him hooked on it. I think he's only watched 3 seasons, but the last three. But he was like this morning, like when I get home from dropping off the kids, can we watch an episode? I'm like, no, I have so many appointments to get ready for. So that will literally have to wait until later
Yes.
tonight.
So funny. Yeah, my husband watched a couple of episodes and then he fell asleep. I'm like, "You're on your own." Like,
I can't wait.
I can't wait. So I think
Yes. Yes, I love that. Also just Netflix needs to go back to just letting us binge. Like I'm tired of these drops. I'm like, just let a girl binge, okay?
yeah, I'm with you on that. And then what I do is I'll listen or I'll watch and then I'll go find a podcast to like listen to and hear what they have to say about it. So
Oh, great
yeah.
idea. Because I do love hearing like the dialogue of what people think and stuff. Like, I think I found something too that are like, Kenneth is gay. And I'm like, well, like that actually might make a little sense because now that I think about it,
You should find like a recap one because it sort of fills your cup while you're waiting for the next drop. So that's my
yeah. Oh, I love
tip.
that. Okay. Okay, cool. Yes, and I know some of your goals with us were like just getting confident around food, being comfortable in your body and stress and just like eating intuitively.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts on some of the labs that we did? I know we did like toxin panel and gut hormone, CGM. We actually did a lot with you. So
Yeah.
what was like one of your favorites, like the one that had the most takeaways or found most interesting?
My I panicked with the one where it was like, you got all this plastic and all this mold in your body. And I'm like, oh my God, what do I do? How do I get rid of it? And so that was a big mind F because I'm just like, oh my goodness, it's so crazy to me that it makes sense, yes, but you
Yeah.
just don't realize it. Um, that was crazy. The biggest takeaway for me, honestly, was the Dutch test and figuring
Mm,
that I tell everybody, if you can do it, do it. It helped me because it validated me and it allowed me to understand
mm,
why I was so low in energy, why I couldn't function, why I had these like truly highs and lows and just like my month. It truly like fixates with my cycle. And so I loved that one. That one's been huge for me. And then the gut health, like I said, I knew that I wasn't perfect with my eating. I wasn't terrible. Could I make better choices? Absolutely. And so that was nice to have and just kind of be like, okay, thankfully I don't have any food sensitivities. That's good. But again, just being mindful of what I'm putting in my body and things like that.
yes, for sure. I definitely feel you on the Tox Trio one.
Yeah.
And I actually, I'm looking at it. You actually aren't as, mm, honestly, I've seen like quadruple worse than you. So I would say you're probably on the like healthier side of things, to be completely honest. Because
Yeah.
I see a lot of these and I see people with like 4 pages of high and moderate ones,
Oh gosh.
which is crazy to think about. But I love bringing this a part of it because, obviously, like what we eat and like our stress, like that matters. But I feel like environmental toxins, as cancer rates rise, it's 1 in 3 in women now. I don't think it's a coincidence that we are now exposed more than anyone ever. We've never been exposed to chemicals like we are now. And like all these things are rising because all these chemicals play a role in like our cells, our cell health, which will ultimately play a role in organ health, right? Because cells make up tissue, tissues make up organs. So if you don't have a healthy cell, then you're not really going to have a healthy organ. So
Yeah.
when I did mine, I was very surprised. Thankfully, mine was like yours, like it just, some things, but definitely nothing drastic. But it's helpful to see like what's like going, like we're testing them obviously through urine.
Yeah.
So it's coming out of the body, but it's like, what am I being exposed to? And like what's going through my body? Because it definitely can still do some damage while it's in there.
Absolutely. And that played a part in learning that about myself. It played a part in how do I do my job moving forward. Like, um,
Mm,
I feel like working within a beta salon and then transitioning to being on my own, Aveda does take pride in being a cleaner product. And that was an easy transition for when I had to move out of working there and kind of finding my own niche and products and things. So when I'm utilizing hair color, I try to make sure it's ammonia free, PPD free, like all of these different things. I use
nice.
Inner Sense is the product line I use in studio. I use on myself.
Oh,
That
I've
is one.
heard it's amazing. I
It's
hear people rant and rave about it.
yes, yeah, it's a great product and it's one that yeah, it's gentle, it's kind to your body. So things like that. I also stopped doing certain like smoothing treatments because I'm inhaling that,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so for a long period of time, depending on how many I'm doing. So things like that. that test allowed me to be more mindful about what I do moving forward in my profession too.
Mm,
So
I love that. I know I do. I will say like hair is I've always wondered, I'm like, man, that can be a pretty toxic occupation, which is funny because it's like you're just like in a little office and in your salon and you're not like caving in the mines or like
yeah.
construction, but it still like plays a huge role in like what you're inhaling and what you're, getting on your body and stuff like that. So I am excited. I feel like it has evolved from like, I don't know, 10, 20 years ago. Like there are more
Oh,
products and companies that are taking that into consideration, which is so exciting for you as that's your occupation, as well as like your clients that use it on. So
absolutely. And
you are part of the change in the world.
I know, and I feel like it's been helpful, because I also, and I don't know if this ever happens to you, but when you're on some type of journey, you start to meet people that are like-minded and in your orbit. So I'm starting to be introduced to new guests or other people who are like, yeah, I'm trying to go for more clean beauty, or I'm trying to do this, or I'm trying
Mm,
to accept my gray, or whatever it is, And so I like that I'm able to bring people in and share my knowledge, and maybe they can give me some knowledge and all of that
yeah.
stuff. So it makes
Yeah,
it
I love that. And I love that you said that the Dutch, you felt like it validated you. Because every time I've done it too, and I agree. And it's one of the tests that I feel like are very controversial, especially in the endocrinology field, because they don't use it. Some people even say it's like some endos will be like, oh, it's nothing like that test. Like we've had patients like my endo said like this is not like validated or whatever. There actually is research on it. It is.
good.
Um, but I think we always have to separate conventional
Yeah,
when they are looking for disease. And
yeah,
that doesn't always mean just because you lack disease, it doesn't mean you're optimal. And I feel
yeah,
like the Dutch is what helps bring that. And actually, I found tumors before with the Dutch. And actually, one of the patients had to go through a couple of doctors because a couple of doctors saying like, oh, we don't like the Dutch is like invalidated, like whatever, we don't take it. And we were like, no, you have to find someone because I'm telling you, this is like literally a
yeah.
huge concern. And then finally, a doctor did listen to her and she did have a tumor. And so, like, that's why I'm like, I have seen amazing things come from the Dutch.
Yeah.
And I love that you were like, oh, it validated how I'm feeling because I think we like sometimes we'll get in the weeds of like, well, my endo says it isn't. And I'm like, I get great results with it. I love it. Patients love it. I can only
I
say high praises.
it's great, and it's funny that you say that. I was just talking about this with a guest, and, depending on who you're going to, this particular type of doctor is gonna fixate on, like, the knowledge that they have, and so, yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes if you feel like you're not, getting the validation, or I don't wanna say hear what you need to hear, or yeah, go get that second opinion, that third opinion, that fourth opinion. Like, I've definitely moved practices because I just felt like my needs weren't being met, my questions weren't being answered, I wasn't being heard, and, yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's
Yeah.
important.
Yeah, for sure. And how would you feel that experience is with that? So obviously you can be honest too. So if you're like, no, you guys were, felt heard, but maybe not. How did you feel like our team was for
Oh,
you
it
in
was
that regard?
I love Claire so much. She's so sweet, and I made, like, a handful of, like, oopsies when it came to, like, not reading stuff. I mean, like, "Oh, GI, take 7 of these capsules." Take 7, and it was the wrong one, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, Claire, what do I do? I actually took 7 of the GI," insert whatever the last part is, and she's like, "You might be okay, you might not." I was like, "I won't leave the house, okay." Um,
Oh, because that's like a laxative effect.
I mean, and thankfully I was okay, like nothing, but I was just like, "I've got
Okay.
to slow down." And then
Yes.
I did this with something else, and I was like, "My body went into overdrive and I'm losing my mind." And it was my fault. I did not read the side of the tub, and I found the scooper. And so it was a whole thing. It was a whole thing. But
Love that. You're not alone. You honestly, you're not alone.
I and she was like, "Don't worry, I've done this before." So, but yeah, it was really great, like, helping me come up with, like, meal ideas in the beginning, especially in the when I was doing the gut health protocol and kind
Yeah.
of eliminating things and bringing things back. Um, that was hard because that first week, oh man,
Hard.
so hard. Yes,
Yes.
yeah. amount of soft-boiled, hard-boiled eggs and everything bagel seasoning I consumed was crazy. And like all the broth, you know? Yeah, so there was a step every way. And then even when I would like talk about my workouts or, oh, I was able to do this, like I had the energy, I had the stamina. And also when I was low, when I was just in a place where I couldn't function, that was okay too. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, it was a good amount of like hand holding, you know what I mean?
Nice. Okay, good, good. And I know weight was kind of like a thing of your goal
Yeah,
of yours, and you like lost 12, you gained a little back. And
yeah,
how do you feel like with that journey, which I always say, like that's a typical journey is like we lose weight, we may gain a little bit back, then you'll plateau, and then you'll lose weight, and then you might gain a little back. And then ultimately, like when you look back at like years of data, you'll see that it's this, but it's like this, and it's
it
just wild. So
makes
was that a struggle for you when you gained a little back or
It was a little, I will not lie, because I think we are just prone to being like, you shouldn't have the number on the scale define you, but I just
yeah.
think that's part of our culture, unfortunately. And I know we're trying to like break that cycle. And so I just kind of go by physically how I feel, how do my clothes feel, what am I perceiving right here? And also when I'm in those lows, not letting that internal dialogue dictate because that is not who I am in that moment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So yeah, I've been feeling pretty good. I've also been able to go back to the gym and I've been doing some strength training and things like that.
Mm.
Nothing crazy like I used to do because I know that created a lot of inflammation and stress in my
Yes.
body. But yeah, it's been really nice to kind of get back into somewhat of a routine.
Nice.
Feels like my old self in a sense.
Nice. Yeah, I love that. I'm with you. I love working out for sure, but I definitely, and I've never worked out too much, but there's times where I just like maybe will stick with like what I am doing. Like I'm still
Mhm.
doing like 4 days a week of strength training, which is not bad. It's actually like kind of ideal, but
Yeah,
I'm listening to my body and it's just like, yeah, but I'm also about to start my period. And honestly, I think I should only hit 2 this week and not 4
yeah,
workouts and just being okay with that. So it's still like a mental funk, I think, for everyone. It's just like, well,
absolutely.
if I don't do 2, and I'm like, wait, no, what?
Yeah,
Practice what you preach. Like remember to get
exactly.
like back to the basics and listen to the body. And it's
Yeah,
so true. I feel women overwork out all the time. And especially if we're still having our cycles, like we need to be very fluid and ready to go with the flow with
is
how
what
we feel.
yeah, that is what I'm learning, and so, yeah, during the if it's, like, the worst part of my period, I'm just gonna probably chill and do a whole lot of nothing, and then maybe I'll take a walk later in the week,
Yeah.
or this past cycle, I was able to go, I did, like, an infrared sauna trip and just was like, "You know what? I'm
Mm.
just gonna lay here and, like, bask in this," and, like, that sort of thing. So, again, kind of listening to your body a little bit more.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, how do you feel like your energy has from before working with us to now? Do you feel like it's gotten back to normal?
I wouldn't say back to normal because what I've learned about myself is I have very, very low cortisol. So I know that that is going to take me a while.
Yeah,
Like
I love
I am
that.
on a journey. Um, but I can recognize when I'm in my peak, like optimal, let's go, go, go self, and when I need to like taper off of it and when I need to allow myself to like rest and relax. And just being mindful of that and working with it and not fighting against it. Um, easier
I
said than
love
done,
that.
but that's I know that it's gonna take me a while, and that's okay. And with having that information from the Dutch test, I can't pinpoint exactly when I was in peak high cortisol stress levels because I'm just kind of a stressed out person,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
yeah,
I want
yeah,
like, but now knowing what I know now, having that data, having that information,
yeah,
being like, okay, me being really, really tired was this. My
yeah,
body was depleted. My body is still a little
yeah.
depleted, and you just got to work towards it.
Yeah, I will say the adrenal health and cortisol is typically usually the slowest to come back.
Yeah.
And I think it's just because usually the answer to that, and I actually was speaking in Dallas yesterday and I spoke on this, is that with stress and bettering our adrenals, usually comes with like bigger lifestyle changes. There are some supplements that are really helpful, certain
Yeah.
nutrients and all of that. But when it really comes down to it, it's really about changing lifestyle. And I feel like that's usually like the slowest thing people change because it could be hard. It could be job changes. It could be, I don't know, so many things that aren't just like, oh, yeah, I'll change that. Okay, tomorrow. And then like forever, I'm good. And so I
Yeah.
think that's why those are a little bit harder to bounce back, or it's just slower to bounce back, is because they're bigger decisions that
Yeah.
people need to make, and fighting against like what your normal was. Of a lot of
Yeah.
people are just, well, I'm just gonna power through. I'm powering through. And then like it's a lot of unlearning that of like, no, don't power through. Slow
That's
down.
exactly what I did to myself. I basically ran myself into the ground, and it's like, oh, you gotta pick back up, and I've
Yeah,
gotta reboot my entire body. And yeah, it is. It's lifestyle changes. I've been able to implement certain supplements into my routine, and they have helped like
nice.
tremendously. It's been awesome.
Nice.
And really being mindful of like self-care in this, like adrenal fatigue, whatever you want to call it. Um, doing things that I can do and I can be like somewhat in control of, right? So
Yes.
going to the sauna and doing some red light therapy, or going and doing some acupuncture, or getting a facial, if those are things that are going to allow me to calm and relax myself, and heal at the same time, and then like have glowing skin or whatever, yeah, I'm down.
Yeah, what has been your favorite lifestyle habit that you've included since working with us?
Ooh, that's a great. So it is very hard for me to like slow down and give myself self-care and like take a breather, and implementing that more. Like I will tell my husband like, "Hey, I'm going to go like dry brush, soak in a bath, do the castor oil packet, and like do a face mask." I don't know. So just like actually taking time for myself.
Oh,
Does that make sense?
love that. Yes, yes. I
Yeah.
must say, it doesn't have to be like this fancy like
Yeah.
device or like
Yeah.
thing that people do. Honestly,
Yeah.
like it can be just that of just taking a second and doing
Yes.
something for yourself.
Well, and going off of like what we started with, like, okay, we usually fixate our whole day into work, and then you're like, okay, I have a little bit of time for myself. So just like allowing myself to have that time, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say that. And then I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I'm going this upcoming week to go do acupuncture. So I'm super excited about that.
Ooh.
I'm hoping, like that'll kind of help with this journey that I'm on.
Yes, I love acupuncture too because it literally is like it forces you, you have little needles in you. So like you literally can't do anything. Like you can't even like look at your phone or anything.
I
So I
know.
felt like when I did acupuncture, man, I always left like I feel so rejuvenated.
Yes, yeah. No, I am excited about that because I do have a hard time sitting still.
Yeah.
When I did my sauna and red light thing, I was just like, okay, I don't have my phone on, I don't have my watch. I've been here for 30 minutes. Like, let's just chill. Easier said than done. So, but I
Yes,
did,
especially
and
because you with a sauna, you can still like have a book or in some way like kind of stimulate your
yeah,
brain and like
to just be here.
yes. And at least I don't know for acupuncture, yeah, doing like this if I had needles in my arm just kind of felt weird. So you're
Yeah,
kind of forced to be like, no, you just lay here and like close your eyes and soak in it.
I know. Well, I'm excited about it. So that's something I'm trying next week. Uh,
Yes.
so
And then the
yeah.
house diet, because you went through that kind of like dietary process, taking things
Mhm.
out, bringing things back in. Do you feel good like with where your diet's at? Are you still
Yeah.
avoiding something that eventually you want to like try to bring back in?
So I was pretty fortunate to not have any food sensitivities. And there are not things that I have to like do away with. I think there are things I just
Nice.
kind of avoid randomly because they don't make me necessarily feel like ideal. Like corn, stuff like that.
Mm.
Uh soy, that type
Oh,
of thing. So I don't feel necessarily great, but I don't think I have like a major sensitivity to it, or I do. I
right.
don't know. Kind of weird. Um, But yeah, I feel like diet's pretty good. I know for me, I have to meal prep. I have to plan it out. That allows me to set our family up for success for like the work week and, dinner time and that sort of thing. And but we still have fun. Like we'll still go and go to a brewery or go have tacos and a margarita.
Mm.
So having the balance and being mindful of it and being like,
Yeah.
okay, I want chips and queso, I'll have some chips and queso, or I'll have like the salad with the tostada or whatever it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just kind
Yeah.
of doing some healthy swaps.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I love when I was like the healing season versus kind of like the healed season, which I mean, there's no like end goal. Like our
Yeah.
life's always changing, especially women. Like we have perimenopause coming up, menopause coming up. So like we're always changing.
Yeah.
But I do love it when you can like enjoy things and you don't really feel bad per se. And so then you just like hop right, like not that you fall off, like I don't even consider it
Yeah.
falling off. Then you just like
Yeah.
get back to doing your normal, but
Yeah.
like you're in a really good like balance with that and you're not like struggling with like parasites still, whatever. You just feel good and you can have those swaps and you can have that balance. So I
Yeah.
love that.
I felt like there was probably, I would say during the holidays, that was probably the most difficult.
Yeah.
Uh, but again, with Claire as like support, she's like, it's okay. You do not need to worry. You do not have to log if you don't want to, like enjoy it, like enjoy your time. And then, we'll just reset. And so sometimes it's just like, okay, we're gonna do a little
Yeah.
reset.
Yeah. It's just the life. Well, I love that. And I love you sharing your journey with us. So is there
Yeah.
any last words you want to share before we hop off?
Get your Dutch test. I swear that was
Yes.
like so, I'm not kidding. I tell everybody about it. And I'm sort of surprised that there's different sort of information out there and some people swear by it and some people don't. That's very interesting to me, but because it just helped me so much. It
Yeah,
truly, truly,
ditto. Ditto.
yeah,
And I see that with when we do it, I've never had a negative experience of it not helping.
yeah,
But yeah, I think it just comes down to how we view health. And
yeah,
so, yeah, if something is not diseased, it gets dismissed, right? Because there's nothing they can do. They're trained in pharmaceuticals, which has
yeah,
a time and a place, but
yeah,
that's just what they're focused on. And so if something's not diseased, but maybe suboptimal, and there are things, diet and lifestyle things that you can focus on. Maybe people don't have to focus on certain things
yeah,
either. So I don't know. I love the data. I think it's so helpful and it is validated and
for sure.
research and stuff. And that's why I'm like, I have only seen positive. So I'm with you. I actually probably have to do mine now that we talk about it. I think it's been like a year since I did mine. So I probably should do it.
Fine. I know.
Well, thank you for hopping on today.
Yeah, awesome. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for allowing me to come on here and chit chat.